Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I appreciate you taking this time, because the time you dedicate to your own personal growth, my friends, is the most profound investment you will ever make. It is not an expense, it is a deposit into the bank of your future. Today, we must talk about a fundamental quality that separates the extraordinary life from the ordinary one. Confidence. Most people misunderstand confidence. They treat it like a lottery win, a random gift bestowed upon a lucky few at birth. They see a confident person, someone who walks tall, speaks clearly, and takes decisive action, and they assume that person was simply born with a greater measure of self-belief. They wish they had that magic quality. They wait for it to arrive. But let me tell you a truth that can change your life immediately. Confidence is not a gift. It is a discipline. It is the inevitable byproduct of action, preparation, and keeping the promises you make to yourself. If you are waiting for a sudden rush of self-assurance before you start working on your dreams, you will wait forever. Look at the people around you. Do you see individuals who are constantly retreating, who whisper their opinions instead of stating them, who consistently settle for less than they are capable of? Often, we look for a singular, traumatic event that might have destroyed their self-esteem. Did they fail spectacularly? Did they suffer a public humiliation? More often than not, the answer is no. Their confidence was not destroyed by a sudden storm. It was eroded by a gentle, constant stream of small, quiet mistakes. As Jim Rohn taught us, it is the little things that run our lives for better or for worse. It is not the big, dramatic errors that ruin a financial portfolio. It is the daily, small, wasteful expenditures. Likewise, it is not the massive, public defeat that ruins your self-belief. It is the subtle habits, the quiet choices, and the mental traps you fall into day after day. These are the silent saboteurs. They are small leaks in the dam of your self-worth. You don't notice the water level dropping day to day, but one day, you look up and the reservoir is empty. You feel uncertain, insecure, and far less capable than you truly are. Why? Because you've been sabotaging yourself slowly, methodically, without even realizing it. The good news, the extraordinary news, is that these leaks are fixable. Every single one of them. But first, you must identify them. You must bring the unconscious into the conscious, for awareness is the first step toward change. Let us talk about the concept that governs all success and all failure. Drift. Drifting is the default setting for human nature. It means moving without direction, without intent, and without a definite philosophy. When you drift, you are allowing the wind of circumstances, the current of public opinion, and the tides of comfort to determine your course. And here is the critical philosophical point. Drift is the ultimate confidence killer. Why? Because confidence is built on the ability to rely on yourself to follow through. When you set no goals, when you postpone necessary action, when you fail to prepare, you are sending a subtle, damaging message to your own subconscious. I cannot be trusted. I am not a person who follows through. I am not in control. This is the great challenge of life, my friends. The choice between the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is temporary. It is the momentary discomfort of getting up early, of saying no to the distraction, of sitting down to do the difficult work when you don't feel like it. But that pain, that discipline, yields a permanent result. Growth, progress, and unshakable self-confidence. The pain of regret is permanent. It is the persistent, haunting knowledge that you had the potential, you had the time, and you had the resources, but you allowed the fear or the comfort of the moment to make you settle for less. This is a burden you carry with you, and it slowly crushes your spirit and your belief in your future potential. Jim Rohn urged us to embrace the pain of discipline. He said, "Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. I submit to you that discipline is also the concrete foundation upon which genuine, lasting confidence is built. If you consistently do what you know you should do, your inner knowing the opening speaker referred to grows stronger every day. As we prepare to dive deep into the 8 silent saboteurs, understand that these mistakes fall into 2 major categories, both of which erode the foundation of discipline. The first category deals with the inner game, the mismanagement of philosophy, or what you think. Your confidence is a direct reflection of your personal philosophy. The set of assumptions, beliefs, and attitudes that guide your life. If you adopt a flawed philosophy, you will produce flawed results. The first three mistakes we will discuss, comparing yourself, seeking external approval, and negative self-talk, are all philosophical errors. You compare your life, your inner struggles, to someone else's external facade, their public results. That is a flawed philosophy that guarantees disappointment. You believe your worth is determined by the opinion of others. That is a philosophy that hands the key to your self-esteem to people who barely know you. You use your mind, the most fertile piece of real estate on earth, to plant seeds of doubt and self-criticism. That is a philosophical betrayal of your own potential. You must become a better student of your own mind. You must observe your thoughts and ask, is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? Your mind is fertile soil, and it will grow whatever you plant. You must be the conscious gardener. Mistake number 1, the thief of joy. Comparing your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. This is a subtle poison, an insidious habit, yet it is one of the most common mistakes I have witnessed in countless lives. We look around at the people in our lives, our colleagues, our neighbors, the faces on the digital screen, and what do? We start measuring. We measure our bank account against theirs, our career trajectory against theirs, our family life, our car, our house. And almost inevitably, we come up short. We whisper to ourselves, why aren't I as successful as they are? Why don't I have what they have? This is the moment the comparison thief sneaks into your mind and begins its work. The fundamental flaw in this comparison, my friends, is that you are never seeing the full picture. You are committing a profound philosophical error. You are comparing your inner life, your struggles, your doubts, your challenges, your insecurities to someone else's outer life. The curated, polished, finished result they present to the world. It is like judging the health of a tree by looking only at the ripest fruit on one branch, while ignoring the years of root growth, the storms it endured, and the dedicated pruning it required. You are setting yourself up for disappointment, because it is an unequal fight. You do not see the battles they fought. You do not know the sacrifices they have made. You do not know the deep valleys of doubt and the long nights of labor they went through to get where they are. All you see is the result, the polished chapter 20, and you are foolishly comparing it to your own journey, which is still unfolding. Perhaps you are only on chapter 2, or even the prologue. This habit of comparison is a confidence killer. It is a thief that robs you of your self-worth because it tells you a lie, that you are not enough, that you do not measure up, and that your unique story is somehow inferior to theirs. But here is the great truth of personal development. Your journey is unique. Your path is yours alone, and it cannot be compared to anyone else's. The moment you spend your precious time focusing on what someone else has already built, you lose sight of what you are currently building. You lose sight of your own strengths, your own unique trajectory, and the progress you have already made. Let us apply the principle of focusing on your own garden. Jim Rohn taught us that you must tend to your own garden. If you spend all your time looking over your neighbor's fence, admiring their perfect roses and their vibrant lawn, two things happen. First, you neglect your own soil, allowing weeds to grow. And second, you start to feel resentment towards the one who put in the work. The truly successful individual understands that the competition is not external, the competition is within. One of the best ways to break the paralyzing habit of comparison is to turn your focus inward. Stop measuring yourself against others, and instead, measure yourself against where you were yesterday. Ask yourself 3 simple, powerful questions every evening. Am I growing? Am I improving? Am I moving in the direction of my defined goals? If the answer is a resounding yes to those questions, then you are on the right track. And that, my friends, is all that truly matters. Your only competition is the person you were 6 months ago. We must also understand the philosophical difference between inspiration and envy. The successful lives of others should not be a source of demoralizing comparison. They should be a source of invaluable inspiration. When you see someone achieve a great thing, do not shrink back and say, I can never do that. Instead, lean forward and ask, what must I learn? What actions must I take? What philosophy must I adopt to achieve something similar in my own unique way? Their success doesn't take away from your potential. It serves as proof of possibility for the human spirit. Their accomplishments do not diminish your value. They provide a roadmap for the dedicated mind. We must shift our mindset from asking, why them and not me, to asking, how did they do it, and what small discipline can I start today? This requires a mastery over the mind, a cornerstone of Jim Rohn's philosophy. The mind is a machine for justification, and it will constantly seek evidence to confirm your low opinion of yourself if you allow it. When you engage in comparison, you are actively programming your mind for failure. You are setting a standard that is impossible to meet because the other person has a 20-year head start. You must exercise your will. The next time you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, stop and consciously interrupt the thought. Remind yourself of this truth. You are on your own curriculum. Their success is a result of the lessons they've mastered. Your potential is defined by the lessons you are currently willing to learn. Be patient with yourself. Life unfolds in its own time. The giant oak tree grows at a different pace than the bamboo. Do not judge your speed by their speed. Judge your speed by your consistency of effort. The moment you choose to focus on your growth, your path, and what you are uniquely creating, that is the moment true confidence begins to flow. Confidence is the feeling that you are making meaningful progress on your own terms. Comparison stops progress because it replaces your authentic action plan with a mimicry of someone else's conclusion. Do not become a copy. Become an original. You have a unique message to share, a unique skill set to develop, and a unique destiny to fulfill. This requires looking straight ahead at your own horizon, not side to side at the temporary scenery of others. To defeat this thief of joy, you must commit to a higher level of self-mastery and self-respect, which is the foundation for our next discussion. The critical need to stop seeking approval from others. For the person who has mastered comparison understands that external measurement is irrelevant, and the person who has mastered their own path understands that external validation is unnecessary. Focus inward, commit to your growth, and watch your confidence soar. Mistake number 2, giving away your power. The constant craving for external approval. My friends, in the previous discussion, we confronted the thief of joy, the poisonous habit of comparison, and established that your focus must be turned inward towards your own growth and unique journey. Now, we must address the natural enemy of that internal focus. Mistake number 2, giving away your power. The constant craving for external approval. It is part of human nature, a deep-seated desire to want to be liked, to fit in, to be accepted by the tribe. But here is the critical distinction you must make in the pursuit of success and self-confidence. The moment your sense of self-worth is tied to the fluctuating opinions of others, you are walking on shaky ground. You are voluntarily handing over the key to your emotional well-being to people who may not even have your best interests at heart, or worse, who are simply too busy living their own lives to care about yours. I'm telling you, my friends, nothing erodes genuine, lasting confidence faster than constantly looking outside yourself for validation. Think of it this way. Through the lens of Jim Rohn's philosophy on leadership, we are all the CEO of our own lives. A good CEO maintains control over the company's most vital asset, its stock price, its value. When you constantly rely on someone else's opinion to feel good about yourself, you are essentially outsourcing the valuation of your personal stock. If they approve of you, your stock is up, you feel on top of the world. But what happens when they don't? What happens when you do not receive that pat on the back, that praise, or the applause you were hoping for? Suddenly, your stock plummets. You start to question yourself. Maybe I am not good enough. Maybe I am not doing things right. And there it goes, your confidence takes a devastating hit. The inherent problem with seeking approval is that it is a bottomless well. It is never enough. Even if you get it, it is fleeting, transient. You might feel great for a moment, but then you are right back to square one, needing the next dose of validation, the next compliment, the next nod of acceptance. It becomes a vicious cycle, a dependency, and over time, it deeply chips away at your sense of who you are. Because if your worth is based on what others think, what happens when their opinions change? What happens when the audience goes home and the applause stops? You lose your footing because your foundation was built on sand, not on the concrete of your own self-respect. Now, do not misunderstand me. Feedback and constructive criticism are invaluable tools for growth. We must be open to the insights of others to correct our course and refine our skills. But there is a monumental difference, a difference that separates success from stagnation, between seeking feedback to grow and seeking approval to feel worthy. When you are chasing approval, you are not living authentically, you are not being true to yourself. Instead, you are bending, twisting, and contorting your character to fit into what you think others want you to be. That is an exhausting, soul-draining enterprise. It is a never-ending chase that leads nowhere but back to insecurity. One of the most liberating actions you can take for your confidence is to make a definitive choice. Stop needing everyone's approval. Not everyone is going to like your ideas. Not everyone is going to agree with your path. Not everyone is going to understand your ambition. And I tell you, my friends, that is more than okay, it is necessary. You cannot please everyone, and you must not even try. What truly matters is that you are living in alignment with your core values, your long-term goals, and your deepest personal truth. When you do that, you begin to build a foundation of confidence that is unshakable because it is not dependent on a single soul outside of yourself. Let me share a deeper insight into my own early career struggles, which relates directly to this mistake. When I was starting out, I had a lot of well-meaning people giving me advice, telling me what I should sell, how I should speak, how I should manage my time. For a period, I listened. I tried to follow their counsel because I thought, surely, they must know better than I do. But do you know what happened? I lost my voice. I started to feel profoundly disconnected from my own message, my unique passion, because I was so fixated on pleasing everyone around me, from my mentors to my first clients. It was not until I made the conscious decision to stop seeking external approval and start trusting my own inherent self that things truly began to change. That is when my message became clearer, my business took off, and my confidence grew exponentially. And why? Because I was being authentic. I connected with people not by trying to get them to like me, but by being the real, unapologetic version of myself. The key takeaway is this, and I want you to remember it. Stop giving others the power to determine your worth. Approval from others is a pleasant thing, a bonus, but it is never, ever necessary. You have to approve of yourself first. You must be the primary source of validation. You must be the one who decides, absolutely, that you are capable, that you are good enough, and that you are worthy of your own ambitions. And when you make that philosophical commitment, something amazing begins to happen. You start to attract the right people. You attract the people who see you for who you truly are, who appreciate your authentic message, and who support you without you having to perform for their applause. Confidence is an inside job, a function of self-leadership. It comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and being profoundly okay with that, regardless of what the latest poll or opinion suggests. It comes from standing firm in your own shoes and saying, this is the work I am committed to, and this is who I am, and that is enough. So, the next time you feel that need for external approval, that hunger for a compliment, stop, take a deep breath, and ask yourself a penetrating question. Why do I need this? What am I trying to prove? And to whom? And then remind yourself of this simple but life-changing truth. You do not need anyone's permission to be yourself. You are already enough, just as you are. This profound shift from external validation to internal authority is the critical bridge that leads us to confronting the next great saboteur, the destructive habit of how we talk to ourselves. Because if you stop comparing yourself to others, and you stop seeking their approval, the only voice left is your own, and you must ensure that voice is on your side. Mistake number 3, poisoning the soil, the damage of the inner negative dialogue. My friends, we have successfully navigated the turbulent waters of external influence. We have agreed to cease the destructive practice of comparing our unfolding story to the finished product of others, and we have made the conscious decision to retrieve the keys to our self-worth from the fickle hands of external approval. We have taken control of our philosophy regarding the outside world. But now, we must turn to the most challenging battleground of all, the inner world. And this brings us to mistake number 3, poisoning the soil, the damage of the inner negative dialogue. We all have that voice in our heads. Some call it the inner critic. Others might simply call it their thoughts, but I call it the silent saboteur of the soul. Here is the undeniable truth. That voice, if left unchecked, can be the single most damaging force to your confidence. The way you talk to yourself, the words you use, and the thoughts you choose to entertain have a massive foundational impact on how you feel about yourself and consequently on the results you achieve in life. Think about it. How often do you catch yourself saying things like, "I'm not good enough. I always mess things up," or "Why can't I ever get it right?" Perhaps you are disciplined enough not to utter these phrases out loud, but if those thoughts are permitted to run rampant in the privacy of your own mind, they are quietly, insidiously eroding your self-esteem. And here's the danger. Over time, these small, seemingly harmless phrases begin to shape your identity. You start to believe them, and what you believe, you become. We must understand Jim Rohn's powerful concept. The mind is fertile soil. Your mind, my friends, is the most valuable, most creative, and most fertile piece of real estate you will ever own. It will produce an abundant harvest based entirely on the quality of the seeds you plant. If you plant the seeds of doubt, limitation, and negativity, the weed of the inner critic, your mind, being obedient, will nourish and grow those weeds, and it will diligently start looking for evidence in the outside world to back them up. It is like programming a computer. You input negative data, and you get negative output. The computer does not question the data, it simply executes the program. Your mind is the same. It believes what you tell it. If you tell it you are a failure, it will find failures. If you tell it you are incapable, it will paralyze your actions. This internal dialogue is shaping your confidence for better or for worse. And if you are not consciously guarding the gate, the enemy has already entered. Now, one of the biggest philosophical mistakes people make is believing that being hard on themselves will somehow motivate them to do better. They operate under the misguided notion that if I criticize myself enough, I will push myself to improve, I will achieve higher standards. But I assure you, that could not be further from the truth. All that relentless, negative self-talk does is beat you down. It makes you feel smaller, weaker, and fundamentally less capable. And over time, this toxic input becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start to live out the very limitations you have been whispering to yourself. This is where we must apply a simple moral test. Would you ever speak to a friend, or a child, or a valued employee the way you speak to yourself? Would you ever look at someone you care about and say, "You're such a failure. You'll never get it right. You always mess up"? Of course not. You would be kind, supportive, and encouraging. Therefore, if you are to be the leader of your own life, you must be kinder, more supportive, and more encouraging to the person you spend the most time with, which is yourself. You are with yourself 24 hours a day. If you are not on your own side, who will be? The antidote to this poison is conscious reprogramming and the application of constructive truth. The first step is awareness. You must catch that negative thought as soon as it arises. The moment it whispers, "You can't do this," you must stop and apply the test of truth. Is this truly a fact, or is it merely a thought? Often, you will discover that it is just a thought, a fleeting moment of doubt, a residue of past programming, not a hard, immutable fact about who you are or what you are capable of. The second step is substitution. You do not just delete the negative thought, you replace it with something more positive, or at least something constructive and neutral. For example, instead of saying, "I always mess up," you consciously substitute it with the truth. "Sometimes things don't go as planned, but I am learning, and I am getting better every day." Or instead of saying, "I'm not smart enough," you say, "I have the ability to learn whatever is necessary to reach my goal." This might feel strange at first, like speaking a new language, but the more you practice this language of self-leadership, the more you begin to change the script of your inner life. And when you change the way you talk to yourself, you profoundly change the way you feel about yourself. When you start feeding your mind the seeds of capability and growth, your actions follow suit. Your confidence begins in the mind, and the words you choose are the building blocks. You must choose wisely. My challenge to you is to become an expert auditor of your own thoughts. Pay attention to that inner dialogue. Catch those negative thoughts the moment they arise, and consciously replace them with a powerful, life-affirming truth. It doesn't have to be overly positive or unrealistic, just something that builds you up rather than tears you down. Confidence begins in the mind, And the consistent act of choosing supportive words over destructive criticism is an act of daily discipline that will lift you higher. When we stop poisoning the soil of our minds, we create a fertile environment for growth, which is precisely the strength we need to face the next saboteur, the paralyzing grip of the fear of failure. You must be your own best supporter if you are to dare greatly. Mistake number 4, the paralysis of potential, letting the fear of failure hold the line. My friends, we have established the necessary internal foundation for confidence. We have taken control of our philosophy, ending the self-sabotage of external comparison and validation. And we have committed to cultivating the fertile soil of our minds with constructive truth. Yet, even with a sound philosophy, many capable individuals remain stuck. They know what to do, they believe they are worthy, but they cannot take the first, vital step. This is because they are held captive by mistake number 4, the paralysis of potential, letting the fear of failure hold the line. The fear of failure is something every single one of us has experienced at some point. It is that little voice, often amplified by our past negative self-talk, that whispers, "What if I try and it doesn't work? What if I fail publicly? What if I make a fool of myself?" And what do most people do in response to this whisper? They hold back. They do not give it their all. They play it safe. They stick rigidly to what is comfortable. And while they might successfully avoid the momentary painful sting of failure in the short term, they simultaneously miss out on something far more valuable: the growth, the learning, and the opportunities that reside exclusively outside the comfortable zone. Here is the life-changing perspective on this fear. The fear of failure is one of the biggest confidence killers because it is the paralysis of potential. It keeps you stuck. It forces you to second-guess yourself before you even begin the work. And here is the subtle, slow damage. Over time, if you constantly give in to that fear, you begin to believe that you are not capable. You start to shrink your vision, you lower your goals, and you ultimately settle for far less than you are capable of achieving. This, my friends, does the greatest number on your confidence, because deep down, in that quiet place of self-assessment, you know you are not living up to your potential. That internal knowledge that self-betrayal causes far more chronic suffering than any single external failure ever could. The problem with fearing failure is that it makes you focus on the wrong thing entirely. You see, failure is not the enemy. In fact, I tell you that failure is not only a part of the process, it is mandatory. It is something every person who has ever achieved anything meaningful has gone through. But when you are afraid of failing, you start to see failure not as an event, but as a reflection of your worth. You think, if I fail, that means I am a failure. But I am here to tell you that this is the grand illusion. Failure does not define you. What defines you is what you do after the failure. It is how quickly you pick yourself up, how deeply you learn from the experience, and how relentlessly you keep moving forward. Failure is simply feedback, a necessary course correction, telling you that the method you just tried did not work. We must embrace the Jim Rohn philosophy on the law of sowing and reaping. You cannot have a magnificent harvest if you are afraid to sow the seeds because of the risk of bad weather. The biggest risk in life is not taking any risks at all. The fear of failure forces you to hoard your seeds of potential. Here is the philosophical shift. Failure is not permanent. It is just a moment in time. It is temporary feedback. But if you allow the fear of failure to stop you from trying, that missed opportunity, that potential path not taken, can be permanent. And let me be clear. Missed opportunities chip away at your confidence far more than failure ever could. When you look back 5 or 10 years from now and think, I could have done that, but I didn't, because I was afraid, that is when regret begins to set in. And regret, my friends, is far worse than failure, because regret is something you carry with you every single day. When you try, even if you fall short, you know you gave it your best shot, you stepped up to the plate, and that willingness to step up alone builds confidence. I want you to make a fundamental, life-altering shift when it comes to approaching difficulty. Instead of asking that paralyzing question, what if I fail? I challenge you, I urge you, to start asking, what if I succeed? The mind, by design, will always try to protect you from perceived danger. And failure certainly feels like a threat to the ego. But what if, instead of focusing on the worst-case scenario, You dedicate the energy of your imagination to the best case scenario. What if things go right? What if this attempt, this disciplined action, leads directly to your next big breakthrough? Shifting your focus in this way opens up new possibilities and allows you to move forward with courage, not hesitation. Courage, after all, is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of it. One of my mentors once told me a profound truth. You've got to fail your way to success. At the time, I did not fully grasp the implication. He was not encouraging carelessness. He was urging a philosophy of iteration. You cannot succeed without experiencing things that do not work. Every failure brings you one step closer to where you want to be because it narrows the field of possibilities and illuminates the correct path. The tragedy is that too many people are so afraid of the momentary discomfort of failure that they never even start the process. But here is the truth you must embrace. The discomfort of failure is temporary, but the rewards of persistence are long-lasting and profound. So, how do you overcome this great paralyzer? The answer is simple, powerful, and relates directly to the next saboteur we will discuss: by taking action. Action is the antidote to fear. The more you do, the more you try, the less power fear has over you. You realize that even when things do not go as planned, the world does not end. You are still standing. You are still learning. You are still growing. And that, the ability to persevere, is what builds the concrete foundation of confidence. Confidence does not come from never failing. It comes from the quiet, absolute, knowing that even when you fail, you have the ability, the character, and the discipline to get back up and try again. My challenge to you is to commit to action. The next time you feel that fear of failure creeping in, remember this simple equation. Failure is not the enemy. Fear is the enemy. Do not let fear hold you back from going after what you want. Take action. Embrace the lessons embedded in every setback, and know that every time you do, you are building a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. That is where true, lasting confidence originates, not from avoiding the test, but from knowing you can handle it when it comes. This commitment to action is the same philosophy we must carry into our next critical topic: the necessity of actively choosing your environment, because who you surround yourself with often determines your courage to act. Mid-video call to action. We have just mastered the philosophy of action over fear, but action requires a community of like-minded individuals. If this philosophy of discipline and progress resonates with your spirit, you must make an investment today, not just in yourself, but in the community committed to self-mastery. Before we discuss the crucial subject of your closest circle, ensure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Consider it your disciplined commitment to never miss a lesson in the art of living well. Your future self will thank you for this small act of follow-through. Mistake number 5. Cultivating the wrong environment. The danger of your closest circle. My friends, we have established the absolute necessity of action to overcome the paralysis of potential, recognizing that fear is the enemy, not failure itself. You have committed to stepping up and facing the test. But what happens when you take that brave step forward, only to be dragged back by the very people you call friends or colleagues? This brings us to mistake number 5. Cultivating the wrong environment. The danger of your closest circle. This is one of those mistakes that can sneak up on you because it is not always obvious at first glance. The influence of your circle is subtle, often delivered with good intentions. But I tell you, with absolute certainty, who you spend your time with can either build you up to greatness or tear you down to mediocrity. It is one of the greatest, most profound influences on your self-confidence, your income, and your overall philosophy of life. Jim Rohn famously taught us that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This is not just a clever saying. It is a fundamental law of association governing human behavior and aspiration. If you surround yourself with people who constantly criticize, doubt, complain, or discourage any form of ambition, it will not take long before you internalize their limitations and start doubting yourself. Conversely, if you surround yourself with individuals who uplift, encourage, challenge you to think bigger, and actively strive for their best, your confidence will grow naturally, often without conscious effort. The question you must ask yourself, sincerely and truthfully, is, who is in my corner, and what are they planting in my mind? Let us return to the powerful metaphor of the garden. Confidence is like a delicate but powerful plant. It needs the right environment, the right soil, to grow strong. If you plant a high-potential seed in poor, rocky soil filled with weeds and pests, it will not thrive, no matter how much potential it holds. The people you surround yourself with are like that soil. If they are constantly negative, cynical, judgmental, or unsupportive of your boldest dreams, they are providing a barren, toxic environment. This cynicism acts like an acidic rain, slowly burning away your enthusiasm and your belief in the possibility of a better future. But if they are positive, supportive, encouraging, and focused on progress, they provide the fertile, nourishing environment your confidence needs to thrive and flourish. One of the biggest emotional mistakes people make is holding on to toxic, draining relationships out of simple habit, obligation, or the fear of change and loneliness. These emotional anchors, these energy vampires, can slowly, subtly chip away at your confidence, leaving you feeling drained, uncertain, and far smaller than you actually are. They do this because your ambition often shines an uncomfortable light on their own lack of effort. When you decide to improve, the complainer feels threatened, and their natural response is to pull you back down into the familiar, comfortable quicksand of their mediocrity. They will rationalize your dreams away. They will call your discipline an obsession. They will label your hope as naivety. I am not suggesting you need to cut people out of your life entirely, although sometimes that is the necessary act of self-preservation. But you absolutely must set boundaries. You need to become fiercely selective about who gets access to your most precious resources, your energy, your time, and the intimate space of your thoughts. If someone is consistently bringing you down, if their philosophy is inherently negative, it is time to limit their influence on your life. You must learn to build a protective shield around your philosophy. When they start in with their doubts or criticisms, remind yourself that their words are merely their perspective, rooted in their own fears, and are not the truth about your potential or your capability. You must focus on your goals and surround yourself with people who reinforce that positive vision, not dismantle it. Consider the profound shift that happens when you find the right association. I think back to my own life and the man who was one of the most powerful influences, Mr. Earl Schaff. Mr. Schaff was the kind of person who possessed the unique ability to lift me up, who saw a potential in me that I had not yet even seen in myself. He did not tear me down. He did not make me feel small. Instead, he challenged me with powerful ideas, to think bigger, to aim higher, and to believe that achieving great things was simply the expected outcome of applying the right philosophy and discipline. Being around someone with that level of belief and vision fundamentally changed the way I saw myself. That is the environment you must actively seek out. People who inspire you to be more, not less. The best decision you can make for your confidence is to actively seek out mentors, friends, and peers who are either where you aspire to be or who are demonstrably on the same rigorous, exciting journey of growth. When you surround yourself with people who are striving for greatness, those who are reading the right books, taking the right actions, and embracing the pain of discipline, it is contagious. It rubs off on you. You start to see new possibilities and, crucially, you start to believe in yourself at a higher level because you are operating in an environment where success is the expectation, not the exception. Your potential is fixed by nature, but your performance is governed by nurture, by the environment you choose to cultivate. Therefore, my final challenge on this mistake is an act of courageous assessment. Take a close, honest look at your circle today. Are the people around you building you up or tearing you down? Are they helping your confidence grow, or are they quietly causing it to shrink? If they are not supporting your forward momentum, it is time to make some immediate, firm adjustments. You deserve to be surrounded by people who believe in your capacity, who celebrate your small wins as steps toward destiny, and who encourage you to keep going even when the path is difficult. When you proactively create and defend that kind of rich, nourishing environment, you will be amazed at the sheer capacity of your confidence to grow. This active commitment to your environment is a key aspect of self-care, which is the foundation of our next critical mistake. For you cannot expect to achieve great things if you do not respect the instrument, your body and mind, that must carry you there. Mistake number 6, neglecting the vehicle. Why self-respect starts with self-care. My friends, we have secured the perimeter. We have committed to fostering a supportive environment, acknowledging that our associations profoundly dictate our altitude. But now, we must turn our attention inward, to the most physical and fundamental saboteur of all, one that undermines every single philosophical decision we have made. Mistake number 6, neglecting the vehicle. Why self-respect starts with self-care. Understand this profound truth. Confidence is not just a mental game. It is a physical one too. Your physical well-being is the absolute foundation for everything else you wish to achieve. Your clarity of thought, your emotional resilience, your capacity for sustained discipline, and, critically, your self-confidence. If you are systematically neglecting your body, if you are running on empty, if you are ignoring the critical needs of your health, it is going to show up in your confidence. Think about it. How do you genuinely feel when you are tired, run down, perpetually stressed, or significantly out of shape? It is profoundly difficult, almost impossible, to stand tall, to look people squarely in the eye, and to project competence and confidence when you are not feeling your best, when you are not feeling whole in your own skin. Conversely, when you are taking care of yourself, when you are eating right, moving your body, prioritizing rest, and managing your stress, it changes everything. You have more energy, more clarity, more mental strength, and a deeper reserve of resilience to face life's inevitable challenges. Confidence, in its most tangible form, starts with how you feel about your own physical instrument. Now, let me clarify something of great importance. I am not suggesting that you need to possess the perfect physique or be a dedicated athlete to have confidence. That is not the lesson here. The lesson is about self-respect. When you actively choose to take care of your body, when you nourish it with good food, challenge it with movement, and respect its need for sleep, you are sending an unambiguous, powerful message to your own subconscious. I am worth it. My success is important enough that I must maintain my primary tool. I deserve to feel good. This message, unlike the negative self-talk we discussed earlier, reinforces a positive, deserving self-image, which is the critical key to building deep, unshakable confidence. When you respect yourself enough to care for your health, you build a level of inner authority that no external achievement can replicate. I have learned this over many years, watching countless individuals fail, not because of a lack of talent, but because of a lack of sustained energy. Your body, my friends, is your vehicle through life. It is the only one you get. And if you do not maintain it, if you do not change the oil, rotate the tires, and fill the tank with the right fuel, everything else suffers. Your mind becomes sluggish, your mood becomes volatile, your patience erodes, and your discipline becomes frail. We all understand that life gets incredibly busy. Taking care of yourself can sometimes feel like an added burden, just another overwhelming task on an already long to-do list. But I am here to tell you that this commitment is not optional. It is essential. You cannot expect to be your best self, your most confident, proactive, decisive self, if you are consistently running on empty. One of the most common, yet dangerous excuses I hear is, I just do not have the time. And I get it. We are all busy. But here is the fundamental, unforgiving truth of the universe, rooted in the principle of priorities. You make time for what you truly deem important. And if you do not make time for your health and vitality now, I guarantee you will be forced to make time for illness and recovery later. And let me assure you, illness, chronic exhaustion, and pain will wreck your confidence faster than almost anything else. When your physical self is suffering, your world shrinks dramatically. It becomes harder to think big, harder to take the necessary risks, and harder to put yourself out there, because you are primarily focused on just making it through the day. So, let us define what true self-care looks like through the lens of Jim Rohn's pragmatic philosophy. It is not just about extreme diets or punishing gym sessions. It is about establishing balance, which is the art of life. It is about ensuring you are getting sufficient, restorative sleep, because a tired mind is a mind that defaults to negativity and procrastination. It is about actively managing stress, which acts as a powerful corrosive acid on your internal systems. It is about staying properly hydrated and fueling your body with nutrients that give you sustained energy, not just temporary sugar spikes. It is about moving your body, finding an activity that feels good to you, and committing to it, not out of obligation, but out of respect. The key is to find sustainable, small, consistent actions that work for your life, and then, crucially, to stick with them. The great error is trying to overhaul your entire life overnight. That path leads to burnout, not confidence. The wise approach is to start small. Every positive step you take toward better care, drinking an extra glass of water, walking for 10 minutes, going to bed 30 minutes earlier, builds momentum. And with that momentum comes a surge of genuine confidence. Why? Because you are proving to yourself, through tangible, physical acts, that you are worthy of investment. The bottom line, my friends, is that confidence is about feeling intrinsically good in your own skin. Make your health a profound, non-negotiable priority, not just because it might make you look better or live longer, but because it will profoundly make you feel better. And when you feel better, when you feel energetic, vibrant, and capable, you show up in the world with maximum presence, maximum clarity, and maximum confidence. This level of self-respect is what empowers you to conquer the final physical saboteur, the one that deals with action and follow-through, the destructive habit of procrastination. For you cannot overcome delay if you do not have the energy and self-trust to start the work. Mistake number 7, the cost of delay. Procrastination is a betrayal of self-trust. My friends, we have established the sanctity of the vehicle, your body and mind, the essential instrument required to carry you to your ambitions. With your health prioritized and your energy managed, you are now physically and mentally prepared for the necessary work. But even the best vehicle, fully fueled and maintained, sits uselessly if the driver refuses to turn the key. This brings us to mistake number 7, the cost of delay. Procrastination as a betrayal of self-trust. Procrastination is far more sinister than simple laziness. It is a slow, methodical poison that does not just waste your time. It subtly, consistently erodes your self-confidence. When you consciously put things off, especially the important, growth-oriented tasks you know you should be tackling, it creates a deep, persistent sense of unease, a silent psychic burden. Deep down, you know you are not doing what you are capable of, what you should be doing, and that constant, nagging feeling metastasizes into profound self-doubt. You see, procrastination is often rooted not in a lack of ability, but in fear. The fear of failure we discussed, the fear of making mistakes, or sometimes the paradoxical fear of success and the responsibility it brings. We avoid tasks because they seem overwhelming, or because we are worried we will not execute them perfectly. And what is the result? We push them off until the pressure of the deadline forces a rushed, low-quality effort, or sometimes, tragically, we let the opportunity vanish entirely. Then the guilt sets in, the guilt of not maximizing our time and potential. And with that guilt comes a devastating hit to our self-esteem. It is a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. The more we procrastinate, the worse we feel about ourselves. And the worse we feel, the more we retreat into procrastination. I have seen highly talented, exceptionally capable people hold themselves back in life, not due to any deficit of skill or intelligence, but simply because they could not overcome this corrosive habit of putting things off. It is not an identity, it is a habit, and like any habit, it can be broken. But only if you face the philosophical truth head-on. When you procrastinate, you are actively sending a damaging message to yourself. Whether you realize it or not, you are telling yourself that you do not trust your own capacity to handle the task, that you are not up to the challenge, and that message seeps into the concrete foundation of your confidence. Confidence, my friends, is built entirely on trust. Trust in yourself to follow through, to take action, and to reliably handle what needs to be handled. The more you delay, the more you start to believe that you cannot rely on yourself to get things done, and that betrayal of self-trust is the ultimate confidence killer. One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves, the grand deception of the procrastinator, is, I'll feel more like doing it tomorrow. But I must tell you, tomorrow never comes. If you do not feel like doing the work today, based on the principle of inertia, there is a very high probability you will not feel like doing it tomorrow either. So what happens? You keep delaying, and the task, the very challenge you must overcome to build confidence, grows larger, more intimidating, and more complex in your mind until it feels completely overwhelming. It is like a snowball of obligation rolling down a hill, gaining size and speed with each passing day. By the time you finally force yourself to address it, you are stressed, rushed, and guaranteed not to be doing your best work. That is not how you build a life of self-assurance. The only effective, proven way to break the debilitating cycle of procrastination is through action. Action, my friends, is the powerful, immediate antidote to the psychological poison of delay. You do not have to tackle the entire mountain at once. You only need to take one small, committed step. Do one small thing. Because here is the profound psychological truth. Once you start moving, even if it is just a little bit, you instantly generate momentum. And with that momentum comes an immediate, palpable sense of accomplishment. This is a small win, and small wins are the currency of confidence. I want you to apply a simple, practical discipline, one I learned and used throughout my career, what I call the 2-minute rule for the minor things. If a task is going to take less than 2 minutes to complete, you must do it right away. Do not let it sit on your mental or physical to-do list, consuming precious mental space and energy. Just knock it out. It is amazing how much immediate confidence you can build by simply checking off those small items. For the larger, more complex tasks, the ones that truly breed fear, you must apply the discipline of breaking them down. Do not look at the summit. Look at the first step. Take the first step. Then, take the next. And before you know it, you have built significant progress and, most importantly, you have reinforced the belief that you are a person of action, a person who can be relied upon. Here is the essential key to this mistake. Confidence comes from action. Every single time you take action, every time you follow through on a task you committed to, you are reinforcing the profound belief that you can trust yourself, that you are capable, and that you are someone who gets things done. That is how you build lasting, durable confidence, by proving to yourself, day in and day out, through disciplined action, that you are true to your word. My final challenge on this mistake is to commit to this philosophy. The next time you catch yourself procrastinating, take one small step, just one. It does not matter how trivial it is. Just do something to create that initial inertia. Remember, the longer you wait, the bigger the task becomes in your mind. But the sooner you take action, the sooner you will see, through evidence, that you are more than capable of handling it. That is the ultimate source of self-trust. And this dedication to consistent action is precisely what is required as we move to conquer the final, foundational saboteur, the destructive impact of living without clear, defined goals. Mistake number 8, aiming at nothing, the confidence killer of unclear goals. My friends, we have traveled through the 7 silent saboteurs, confronting the philosophical flaws, the destructive internal dialogue, the paralyzing fear, the toxic environment, the neglect of our physical vehicle, and the betrayal of self-trust through procrastination. You have committed to action, you have prioritized your health, and you have cleaned up your inner circle. But now we must confront the final, foundational mistake, the one that renders all that disciplined effort meaningless. Mistake number 8, aiming at nothing, the confidence killer of unclear goals. This might seem like the most obvious mistake, yet I assure you, it is more profoundly destructive than most people realize. One of the biggest confidence killers out there is drifting through life without clear, specific, compelling goals. You see, when you do not have a defined direction, when you are not actively aiming at something specific, it is profoundly easy to feel lost. And when you are lost, when you are simply floating on the currents of external events, it is absolutely impossible to feel truly confident. Confidence grows exponentially when you know precisely where you are going and you possess a definite plan, however small, to get there. Without that essential sense of direction, it is easy to feel uncertain, unsure of your purpose, and eventually, you inevitably start questioning your own abilities. Think about the feeling. How do you feel when you wake up in the morning and you do not really know what you are working toward? When there is no target clearly in sight, no specific, burning goal pulling you forward, it is easy, too easy, to fall into a passive pattern of just going through the motions, doing the absolute minimum to get by, or simply reacting to the demands of others. And over time, that fundamental lack of purpose begins to wear heavily on your self-confidence. Why? Because you are not growing. You are not progressing. You are simply coasting, And coasting, my friends, always leaves you feeling stagnant and diminished. Now, consider the stark contrast. How do you feel when you have a clear, well-defined goal in mind, a target that excites and challenges you? When you wake up knowing exactly what you need to do, and more importantly, why you are doing it. That is when your entire energy shifts. You feel motivated, you feel driven, and you feel genuinely excited about what lies ahead. And here is the magic of goals. Every single time you take a disciplined step toward that clear goal, your confidence gets a powerful boost. You start to believe in yourself more and more because you can see, you can measure, and you can internalize the tangible progress you are making. That is the transformative power of having a clear goal. It gives you something to aim for, something to measure your actions against, and a reason to embrace the pain of discipline. Jim Rohn provided us with the clear philosophical distinction: hope is not a strategy. Without clear written goals, it is easy to lose focus. And when you lose focus, you start to drift. Nothing destroys confidence faster than drifting. You are essentially on a magnificent ship with no destination programmed into the compass, simply hoping you will end up somewhere good. But hoping for success is a recipe for failure. If you want to build lasting, authentic confidence, you need to take control of the ship. Set a specific course for where you intend to go. And that process begins with clear, specific, measurable goals. A major reason why many capable people fail to set goals is tied directly back to our discussion on the fear of failure. They think, what if I write it down and I don't reach it? What if I fall short? But here is the great, comforting truth. Even if you do not hit the goal exactly as planned, even if you fall 10% short, you are still going to be miles, light years ahead of where you would have been if you hadn't set that goal at all. Goals provide direction. They provide a vital purpose. And even when you fall short, the progress, the lessons learned, and the sheer effort you exerted along the way, that is what builds your strength and solidifies your confidence. The pursuit of the goal, the daily action, the sustained effort, that is what strengthens your core belief in yourself. Goals give you a profound reason to push through the tough times, something worthy to look forward to, something that makes all the sustained discipline worthwhile. I want to make one thing absolutely clear. Drawing from the Rohn philosophy, your goals do not have to be gargantuan to build confidence. In fact, often the smaller, actionable goals are the most powerful in the beginning. These are the little wins we talked about. Every single time you achieve a goal, no matter how small, finishing that book, completing that online course, saving that first $1,000, it sends a decisive, powerful message to your brain. I can do this. I can set my mind to something, design a plan, and accomplish it. And that, my friends, is how confidence is built, one small, disciplined win at a time. Furthermore, your goals must be specific. Vague wishes like I want to be rich or I want to be happy will not get you very far. You need to apply the precision of the engineer. You must define what success looks like for you. What does happiness look like in tangible, measurable terms? How will you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, when you have achieved the target? The more specific you are, the more details you include about the who, what, when, and how, the easier it is to create an immediate plan, and the easier it becomes to measure your daily progress. And when you can measure your progress, you can clearly see how far you have come, which instantly boosts your confidence, reinforcing the powerful belief that you are an effective, capable agent in your own life. This entire framework, the commitment to a sound philosophy, the nurturing of positive self-talk, the courage to act, the prioritizing of health, the immediate execution against procrastination, it all culminates here. It all requires a clear destination. My final challenge to you is to commit to this powerful discipline. If you do not have clear, written goals right now, take the time to set them. Think about where you want to be in 6 months, in 1 year, in 5 years. What do you want your life to look like truly? And then apply the discipline of breaking those big goals down into smaller, immediate, actionable steps. The clearer you are about what you want, the easier it will be to execute the disciplined action that we have discussed is the true antidote to the silent saboteurs. Remember this overarching truth, the key to lasting self-assurance. Confidence comes from the profound, inner knowing that you are moving in the right direction, with purpose and precision, even if it is just one small step at a time. Set your goals, define your purpose, and take action. You will be amazed at how quickly your confidence blossoms when you know exactly where you are going and how you intend to get there. My friends, we have reached the end of our deep dive into the silent saboteurs. We have methodically dissected the 8 most common mistakes that quietly, but relentlessly, undermine your self-confidence and diminish your potential. We began by establishing a foundational truth. Confidence is not a random gift. It is a discipline. We then systematically identified the enemies, the thief of comparison that poisons your perspective, the craving for external approval that gives away your power, the negative inner dialogue that pollutes the fertile soil of your mind, the fear of failure that paralyzes your potential, the toxic circle that drags down your standards, the neglect of your vehicle that drains your energy, the cost of delay that betrays your self-trust, and finally, the aiming at nothing that kills your purpose. You now possess the awareness. You have the blueprint. The crucial question before us now, the one that separates the dreamers from the achievers, is simple. What will you do with this awareness? The most profound realization you must walk away with today is this. Confidence isn't something that simply happens to you. It is something you actively, intentionally create every single day. It is built not in grand, sweeping gestures, but in the quiet, consistent choices you make moment by moment. It is constructed choice by choice, commitment by commitment, and action by action. Every time you consciously make a choice that strengthens your belief in yourself, you are laying a concrete foundation for unshakable confidence. Think of the internal shift we discussed. You build confidence when you stop comparing your journey to others and turn your focus inward to your own daily progress. You build confidence when you stop begging for external validation and start trusting the sound, inner authority of your own voice and values. You build confidence when you face that initial fear of failure and take the first courageous step anyway, knowing that failure is just feedback, not fate. You build confidence when you prioritize the health of your physical vehicle, treating your body with the respect and care it demands. You build confidence when you refuse to allow the inner critic to poison your mind, replacing doubt with constructive truth. You build confidence when you defeat procrastination, taking immediate action and reinforcing the trust in your own follow-through. And you build the strongest, most directed confidence when you set clear, compelling goals and start moving toward them, step by disciplined step. My friends, it is all within your control. The power to change your trajectory is not held by the economy or the government or the people around you. It resides solely in the discipline of your daily choices. Confidence is not some elusive, mystical quality reserved only for a few charismatic individuals. It is available to anyone, anyone who is willing to commit to doing the necessary, often uncomfortable work, to make the necessary changes in their philosophy, and to show up for themselves consistently every single day. The true test of your character is not what you do when the world is watching, but what you do in the quiet privacy of your own life. Do you honor your commitments to yourself? Do you choose the pain of discipline over the crippling pain of regret? Let us delve deeper into the philosophy of the daily choice. Jim Rohn reminded us of the inevitable regret of looking back and realizing you could have, and should have, done better, but you simply drifted. The pain of discipline, getting up, starting the work, saying no to the distractions, is a momentary, sharp pain, a fleeting discomfort. But the rewards of that discipline are immense: self-respect and confidence. The pain of regret, that haunting knowledge of potential unfulfilled, is a deep, chronic ache that stays with you. Today, you have the awareness of the 8 saboteurs. You know the price of drifting. You must make the conscious choice to commit to the pain of discipline. Choose the discomfort of a few hours of disciplined work today over the decades of regret tomorrow. So, here is the specific challenge, the call to action that requires immediate execution, linking all our lessons together. I want you to look across those 8 mistakes we discussed, and I want you to identify the one single saboteur that is currently holding the strongest grip on your life. Is it the external comparison on social media? Is it the delay of the big project you know will change your life? Is it the neglect of your health that is draining your mental reserves? Identify that one mistake. Now, I want you to commit to taking one decisive, small action today, right now, to counteract that specific saboteur. If it is comparison, Your action is to turn off the measuring stick for the rest of the week and focus only on recording your own small progress. If it is procrastination, your action is to apply the 2-minute rule to the first task on your list and complete it immediately. If it is unclear goals, your action is to spend the next 30 minutes writing down, with absolute clarity, what your life must look like 6 months from now. Confidence comes from action, not from theory. It comes from doing the things that scare you, from proving to yourself, through small acts of daily courage, that you are capable of handling life's challenges. It is about living your life in absolute alignment with your highest values and your most ambitious goals. It is not about reaching perfection. That is an illusion that breeds more procrastination. It is about committing to consistent progress. It is about showing up, even when you are unsure, and trusting that because you are taking action, you will figure out the necessary steps along the way. Your potential is immense, but potential remains mere theory until it is put into motion by action. This is my final instruction and my deepest request. Take action, even if it is the smallest step. Take it, because every time you do, you are telling yourself the most important truth you can ever hear. I can do this. I am capable. I am reliable. That is how confidence is built, brick by disciplined brick. You possess everything you need within you to become the most confident, most effective version of yourself. The only question now, my friends, is this. Will you take that first step, and will you take it today? Do not delay. Do not look for approval. Commit to the discipline of the small choice now, and start building the confident life you deserve. This is the time. This is the moment. Act now. If the philosophy we have shared today resonated with your deepest ambitions, if you found value in this blueprint for self-mastery, I urge you not to let this moment pass. This is not just a video. This is a community of individuals committed to leaving the average life behind. Make the commitment to your own future by joining this conversation. Like this message to solidify your commitment to action, and subscribe to this channel. This is your personal development platform, and I look forward to meeting you and supporting you in the next lesson where we continue to build the philosophy and discipline necessary for true wealth and happiness. Thank you for your time, and may you commit to making the rest of your life the best of your life. This is your moment of decision. The truth is simple. You have the blueprint. If this profound philosophy, rooted in the principles of Jim Rohn, has illuminated your path, I urge you to carry this message forward. This is not just a channel. This is a community committed to lifting standards. Show your commitment to growth by liking this message. And if you wish to be part of the most ambitious conversation about success and personal sovereignty, subscribe now. Join us, and together, we will build a life that is truly exceptional. Thank you for your time. And may you commit to making the rest of your life the best of your life.